Thanks for tuning in to another video. This week we'll look at the October housing stats in Belleville, Quinte West, and Prince Edward County. And I'm gonna go over my favorite 3 stats for gauging market health. If you want different stats or hyper-local stuff, you can reach out to us anytime. But for the purpose of this video, the 3 stats that I think are most important are sales, benchmark price, and active listings. So why do I think these 3 stats are the most important? Well, first up, sales. Sales tells us how many properties are actually selling and how fast or slow new and standing inventory is being absorbed. Benchmark price gives us the most accurate value for pricing, whereas median price or average price can be skewed by higher or lower sales, especially in smaller markets like ours where we have a relatively small sample size. Finally, active listings. Active listings are the amount of properties currently on the market. It's super important because that is the supply. Sales are the demand, and every market is based on supply and demand. Now that that's out of the way, we'll start with Belleville and we'll start with sales. Belleville had 58 sales in the month of October, down 5% from last year. Benchmark price in Belleville is down from last month and sits at $531,600, down 5.2% from last October, where benchmark price sat at $560,000. There are currently 284 active listings in Belleville. That's up 21% from the 230 figure we saw last year. So overall in Belleville, less sales, softer prices, and higher inventory levels, similar to the trend we've seen throughout this fall. Active listings are up 9% in Quinte West with 220 properties currently on the market. So showing very similar trends to Belleville with a little bit less inventory, but less sales to absorb that inventory. These markets tend to move in sync. Over in Quinte West, we had 43 sales in the month of October, down 4.6% from last year. Benchmark price dipped below $500,000 for the first time since May of this year, coming in at $495,600, down 4.5% from last October. Now over to Prince Edward County, which usually behaves a little bit differently than Belleville and Quinte West. Sales were up sharply in the county with 49 sales happening in the month of October, up a staggering 68.5% from last year. But benchmark price continues to slide, now sitting at $663,500, down 13.4% year over year after 3 straight months of modest price increases over the summer. Active listings are pretty much flat in the county with 317 this October compared to 315 last October. Still elevated though, which is putting downward pressure on prices as we've seen. High supply continues to be the main challenge of the county's housing market, despite an uptick in sales over the last 2 months. Across all 3 of these markets, inventory remains elevated, and we're seeing that impact on pricing. It'll be interesting to see if this latest rate cut or the budget announcement has any impact on buyer sentiment as we head to the winter months of 2025. Thanks for watching this week's real estate update and see you next week.